With me today, I have a hot water heater from Giesen. Now this is an inline hot water heater it's electric, so it could be used for RV or inline before a bathroom or a faucet or something like that. Then the vendor isn't sponsoring or paying for this video, but they're kind enough to send us this to test out. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's inside. So this is kind of how the unit comes shipped. Now this did all kind of fall over when I turned this on its side, but you basically have two faucet controls. One's an inline. You usually use these with inline faucets. This one has a nozzle for like a little hose. This is just an inline adapter. So you have a T adapter right there. So this can go to like another unit if needed or something like that. There's some plumbing tape. There's some screws for mounting. There's a mounting bracket right here. So that's cool. So you can see the unit comes in plastic when it's shipped. Then the things that it came with, I'll kind of go over that. So you have the manual, two hoses, I believe that's inlet. Now you have a small, like I was showing earlier, this is the hose for doing like an inline to like a faucet or something like that if you need that. This is kind of like the hose you'd use for a refrigerator. Possibly could be for use with the refrigerator, or if you're in RV setting, some of those have the faucets with the hot water tap on them. There's also plumbing tape. There's screws and for this mount here. So this is how the machine will be mounted. On the back here, it'll sit kind of like that. So that's how you'll mount it. This doesn't look like that mounts fairly well. So I think this is just for stabilizing if you need to mount this and then have maybe something in here. So aside from that, this is all the stuff that it comes with. Now, as far as the unit goes, it's a simple sort of knob. It'll say if it's heating mode and what sort of functions are running at that time. Now, there's not too much that would be hooked up to this. Basically, you have your inlet and then you have your hot water outlet. Now, I'm not sure as far as running this inline, say if you had hot water coming in, because like we have an inline hot water heater that would send hot water to this to then be heated up again so that you have hot water on tap. So it's like right there by the faucet. So it doesn't state a temperature inlet. So I'm not exactly sure how that would roll. As far as if you had hot water going to this, I'm assuming it would be able to handle it. What it does state is that it has a pressure rating, so making sure you don't exceed the 150 psi. So that's something I'd be concerned about. Yeah, max pressure 150 psi. The wattage is 1400 watts. So keep that in mind. This is kind of like a hair dryer or a microwave or an air fryer, something that has quite a bit of wattage on it. That's what this is gonna pull. So keep that in mind as well. Has contacts for any of the support down here. But yeah, I don't see anything about it as far as the temperature inlet. Let me go ahead and look in here. I think that's the only other thing I'd really care about, something like that. So they give you a few options. They don't necessarily have all the stuff involved. You might have to get another hose. Say if you're already coming from something like this, because this is what's gonna go on there. And if you have this end, you're gonna have to get another connector for this. And this doesn't fit that. This is just for these sides for splitting for this type of thing here. So you probably have to get a few hoses depending on what your needs are. But aside from that, as far as the installation, as far as how the hoses go, make sure you review that. This is just 1/2 inch. And then I believe this is 1/4 inch here. Yeah, this doesn't say what this is. I think it's I forget what the standard is. It's just the standard for what you would hook up to a faucet. But this is 1/2 inch on this side. This is either 1/4 or 3/8. I think it's 3/8. Any other hoses anyway. So this is gonna be more of a standard for RVs. That's fine. That'll work with what you have there. But if you're looking at anything else, just plan for that as far as hoses. And what's great is that there's not a lot of like involved technology that you need to have other than turn it on and go, right? And it'll have certain alerts and things like that. But basically, this is really simple to run. You just turn it on, and whenever the water starts going through it, it'll activate and start heating. So it'll take a little bit as far as water coming through. That's something that you'll always experience off of anything that's inline. Some, like our inline hot water heater, has another tank in there, but then you're always constantly still heating that thing, and it's just kind of a pain in the butt. Like you can also set that on a timer as well, so you can say like, I'm gonna get up around this time, make sure that tank is full, and we'll use that hot water. Other than that, just run without the tank. So this doesn't have all that kind of complex sort of programming and whatnot. So this is really simple. Let's go ahead and test this out. We'll see how this works and see some of the features that it has. So you can see here I have the unit on the floor. Normally, if you were going to install it, you'd probably just want to mount it, so you can mount it on the wall there. I would recommend how this has board on the back to also put some sort of board on the back or something like that. But where this final unit's resting place will be is going to be out in the shed that we're building. So this will be kind of like hot water for the shed out there. But right now I'm going to divert some of the cold water. You can see it's tapped into the cold line there. It's going to go through the unit, and I'm going to go ahead and test it out as far as the temperature with the thermometer. And we can see the temperature that it shows based off of what it's reading. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on and get this going. So you can see the unit's controls are fairly simple. Of course, the unit's wobbly because it's not mounted, but basically it just has a dial here that you can kind of turn up the temperature that you want. You kind of see how easily it's just one dial that you set. So that's pretty cool. I like that. All right, so one of the things I'm learning with this is that it takes a little bit to warm up. It's electric, so it's not like gas where it just kind of turns on right away. I did have a little bit of spray. I thought that I secured all that down, but I would just make sure that any of your hoses here, that they're really secure. Also, I'm glad to test this in this fashion because this thing's heavy, like just the whole unit with water on there. So make sure that when you mount it, that it's mounted really secure and that it can actually support this unit plus the water, because the unit itself is really light. So just take into consideration this is going to hold a lot of water while it's heating it. So you can see there, and so I have the water kind of going into the bathroom there. I'm going to go ahead and test that just to show you the temperature. Now the temperature doesn't seem to be exactly 91 quite yet because I'm just running a little bit of water through here, waiting to get it to warm up. It went down a little bit, but basically just waiting for this thing to warm up. Now this thing it's not going to handle a high flow. So even though I have this hooked up to my unit here, you want to make sure there's not a lot of pressure going through this unit, like there would be for this type of unit here. You can see this is a whole house water heater, and this is going to have a lot more heat, a lot more pressure, that kind of thing. This is just going to be smaller application. So let's go ahead and take a look at the temperature and see what's coming out of the end. So you can see I just have a regular thermometer here, just for like food and stuff like that. I'm just going to hold it in front of the water just to see what the temperature is. Now this is a little bit above room temperature, so I'm waiting to see if this will get higher around that 85 degree mark, kind of where the unit said that it was kind of reading out. It was dropping because I did raise the water pressure just to see how that would affect it. You're getting about 92, 95. So this is pretty much what was coming out, 95, 97. That's pretty good. You can kind of see it there, 96. So 95. It's kind of going down a little bit because the temperature was going down overall, but it got up around that 90 range. So that's kind of cool that it kind of reads pretty much what's going to come out of there. A little bit higher is what's coming out overall, but what we were looking at in there was the temperature dropping. But you can see how it's going back down. But yeah, basically this is going to be good for hot water in your RV, any sort of low pressure situations. And you can see back on the unit, we're looking at 86 degrees. It'll probably go back up. I let it go up to like 92 or something like that, and it started kind of dropping when I was shooting. So just mind that this unit will take a little bit to warm up. It'll take a little bit to kind of just hold the water in there. Again, I had a little bit of pressure issues with the water coming out. You can see some spots there, just around there, just some leakage. So just make sure that that's also secure. I don't think that's necessarily an issue with the flow rate, because I can turn up the flow and it'll just go down. If I turn it up too high, then it will kind of leak a little bit. And then cranking up the heat, you can always do that. I think this thing gets up to about 140, so we'll see if that's accurate or not. But yeah, I'd really make sure to test this out first before you install it. Make sure everything's working properly. Make sure that the pressure is what you need for your RV or the situation you're using it in. Another thing that's great is it's easy to drain. You can kind of see there that I have it draining into the sink. It has this sort of ledge that allows it to sit. You can see there. So I thought of that at least. You need to drain this out. Makes it easy to let it sit there for a while. That's pretty cool. So I hope this video helped answer some of the questions you had about this unit and if it's the right one for you.